So, Deputy, obviously you previously served as the chair on various committees relating to public finances, and so I'm wondering what's your perspective on the latest drama with RTE regarding the broadcaster's most recent exit payments and all of the controversy surrounding that?
Well, I think it's a huge controversy, yes, but it's also an indication that there is a huge amount of work to be done in terms of corporate governance, accountability and transparency. And that's not just in RTE, that's right across various government departments and agencies. And we've seen this over many years, decades in fact, and no government has had the appetite to bring about the reforms and modernisation that is necessary to ensure that the taxpayers' money is protected and that there is transparency in all of these organisations with accountability. And then we need to strengthen the committee system in the House to ensure that those that are central to decision making are held to account publicly in front of those committees, with the committees having the power to compel people to attend, particularly where it involves poor governance and poor spend for public money. But the Comptroller General has a huge role to play in this. He's a central figure in relation to monitoring public money and the spend of it, and then governance alongside that. I had a bill in the Dáil a number of years ago now, and I still share an interest in trying to bring this reform about in the context of empowering the Comptroller General, extending the remit of the committee to meet that empowerment of the Public Accounts Committee, and to ensure then that the Comptroller General is in a position to look at the spend of any amount of public money, should it be necessary. And until we do that, we're only playing games with the public in terms of how we deal with these issues.
So would you say then that while this RTE issue has blown up in the public consciousness, it could be the tip of the iceberg as far as more systemic issues when it comes to semi-state bodies and state-funded bodies more broadly, that the RTE could be just one of many organisations where we have this kind of a culture internally? Would that be your view?
It is, and it is a culture, so it's very difficult to root out a culture. And in the context of RTE, maybe one of the ways that should be examined is to sell on the company, sell on RTE, and protect the public broadcasting part. I think we have to look at radical solutions to this problem. Otherwise, we're just going to have the same old again, and the status quo will just remain. The country can't afford the status quo any longer. And that's why I would call on the government to ensure that the radical reform that's necessary in RTE and the other organisations where we know that is needed, that it be introduced, implemented, and that we put the Committee of Public Accounts then on the right footing with the Comptroller and Auditor General. You can be sure that because of the amount of money involved here, it has come to light. Because of the poor governance in RTE, it has come to light. But right across agencies and the spend of public money, there are issues. There's issues in local government. Poor spend, poor value for money, no accountability. That's how I see it. And I see the same thing in various departments. You can take the current issue of migration and see what's being spent. And it won't be until 5 years' time that we look back and say, my God, how did a country do that? That particular department has no governance, has very poor management, and it too needs to be examined. But that's just one in a whole list of agencies, organisations that have come before committees that have shown poor governance and poor spend for taxpayers' money that are just not being examined.
When it comes to radical solutions, obviously there's been a lot of debate around how RTE should be funded going forward, and that it should be conditional, the funding they receive, on certain reforms, and people are talking about direct exchequer funding, should that replace the licence fee and all this. And it seems like nobody is willing to entertain the idea of perhaps even letting RTE fall because of this entire episode, and effectively saying, look, you're on your own effectively. Is that something that you think might potentially have an impact if an organisation was to mismanage its funds and pay the price, as it were? Is that the kind of thing that we should be looking at as far as accountability, or do you see a different solution being more practical, I suppose?
Well, in the RTE situation, We need to protect the jobs and protect public broadcasting, but not at any cost. So a new structure, corporate structure, needs to be put into RTE, or else it needs to be, moved on to a better company, a better structure. But if they're to be funded by public money, whether it's a licence fee or whether it's direct from the Exchequer, then there needs to be an oversight on that spend by the Comptroller and Auditor General. Not just the way that office functions at the moment, but an empowered Comptroller and Auditor General that would have new powers to ensure that matters are questioned and that a solution is brought about with the structures necessary. But if you don't have people focused on change in an organisation that is culturally, that culture is dominant in it, then you won't bring about change. You need change masters at every step in all of this. And as you achieve that change, you protect it. But if it's to be funded directly from the Exchequer, which I have no problem with, then it needs to be clearly managed by the Comptroller and Auditor General in a very public way.
Do you think, sorry, I'll just let this car go by. Do you believe that a lot of the criticism that Media Minister Catherine Martin has received is warranted? Because obviously in the past week or so she's been the target of a lot of pushback and people saying that her handling of the Fianna Raleigh case has been less than ideal. Would you have a view on the Minister's handling of this whole situation?
I would. I think it has been dragged on far too long. I think that she, in her capacity as Minister, has shown poor judgment in a lot of the acts that she has undertaken, one of them being to fire Fianna Raleigh publicly. But to call for a Minister's head is a short solution. It's not what's required here. What is required here is the accountability of the board and the accountability of the officials within the department. Because at the end of the day, it is the permanent civil service that make the decisions, that have the information. The fact that the information wasn't put out there is a fault of the department. So we need to examine all of this so we can learn from it. There's no point in firing a civil servant or in a civil servant retiring or a minister being retired and taking information with them. We have to keep people in their places and make them accountable. And that's the only way we're going to bring about change.